Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce, and this is a 300 Winchester Magnum cartridge. It is super fun to shoot. It is very powerful, but also very expensive. But today, I'm going to reload this as one of these. It's a cast lead bullet. It's still 300 Winchester as far as the case is concerned and the caliber, but it will be much lower recoil. It'll be much more fun to shoot for the average shooter, and it will cost about 20 cents a round to reload. Let's get to it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why is Deuce choosing a 300 Win Mag cartridge as a low recoil option? It's almost like an oxymoron, isn't it? Well, number one, it is a fun challenge. It's an interesting challenge. Number two, I was invited to a big shootout with some friends and family members, and my wife wanted me to, number one, bring a big rifle, something that shoots a big cartridge. I can do that. I'm the gun guy. I've got all kinds of big cartridges. But number two, I was told that also she wanted a scope. And number three, the range was only 50 yards in length. So I chose the Thompson Center 300 Win Mag, which I happen to already have a scope dialed in for it. And I went ahead and grabbed this. But at 50 yards, I did not feel comfortable with shooting shooting full power 300 Win Mag. By the way, this non-typical stuff, this ferrule ammunition is hard to beat with a stick. Good stuff. But way overkill for a just fun time at the range with only 50 yards to work with. So I decided to do some reloading, so we still have the big rifle with the big scope, with the big cartridge, but it is not overpowered for the situation. The die set I'm using is a Hornady die set that I picked up, I think, at a gun show. I can't remember. I picked these things up. Sometimes I pick up the dies before I even own the rifle. But I ended up with this, and it's a great set of dies. I have to say, Hornady makes a good set of dies. For reloading recipes, I look at the Lyman Handbook here for cast bullets. Fantastic resource for all kinds of loads, especially if you're just getting started. You get to kind of get the gist of what you're going to be looking at. Later on, you can start modifying your own recipes. Now, at this point, I know the cartridge I'm going to make, I know the bullet I'm going to use, and I know typically what the speed I'm expecting that bullet to come out of the barrel. So, is that even a viable option? Well, I go onto the internet and I Google up bullet stability calculator. And normally what I'll use is the Burger Bullet website. They have the best setup for calculating the bullet stability. You put all the information you know about the bullet, the rate of twist in the rifle, and the speed the bullet's going to be going, and you put that in there and it'll tell you whether or not it's going to be stable out of the barrel. That is key. You want a bullet that's going to be inherently stable as much as possible. The next step is to figure out what gunpowder to use. Well, number one, you can go and buy whatever eccentric gunpowder you want to, or look through your stash of gunpowders and see what you have that will work. Well, I've got Unique gunpowder and I've got some Red Dot. The Unique is something that is recommended by the Cast Bullet Handbook. The Red Dot powder is recommended by Ed Harris, not the actor, but the reloader, and it's called The Load, which is a training round that I believe was originated in World War II training scenarios for any kind of .30 caliber application. I have heard that it can or cannot work in a Magnum case, which the 300 Win Mag is a Magnum case. So we're in uncharted territory here, so we're going to find out what this does. Also, if you're curious what The Load is, I cannot share that with you myself, but just Google it, Ed Harris The Load, and you can find it yourself. Per the YouTube terms of service, I cannot actually go through and show you exactly what I'm doing here, but I can go through the steps here. Number one is that I'm going to take all these cases, that's 300 Win Mag used cases, and I'm going to fully resize first, lube them up, and then fully resize them to factory spec. And then you have to trim these cases. 223, 556, 762 by 39. You can get away with a couple of reloads between trimming the cases. If you forget to trim your brass, you will end up with a cartridge that looks like this. Good luck trying to get that to chamber in your rifle. It won't happen. And you've basically ruined that piece of brass because you forgot to trim it correctly. So trim your brass every single time you reload the 300 Win Mag or any kind of Magnum cartridge, because it will stretch beyond its usable capabilities. For a powder scale, I use this Gemini 20 from AWS. Technically, it's not a powder scale, but it is a very accurate scale that's meant for pretty much anything, including gunpowder. So I highly recommend it. At this point, I've got 2 rounds loaded up with my unique powder charge and another 2 rounds loaded up with my red dot powder charge. We're going to go ahead and go to the range, shoot these over the chronograph and see what kind of speeds we're getting and if they can hit steel. Alrighty folks, we are down at the range to test out some firearms and get everything sighted in well. Unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with my GoPro camera because I left my video card at the house. So this is just a paperweight, $1,000 paperweight right here with this Canon. And first of all, let's go ahead and test out that old Ed Harris, famous Ed Harris, The Load. Test that out here, get some speed across the chronograph. Actually, I lied. The very first thing we're going to do is test the chronograph to make sure that she is functioning. I always do that with a 22 because it's cheap and easy, and I know about how fast 22s go. 1295, perfect. So my chronograph is good to go. All right. That's perfect. 1,500 feet per second, right on the dot. Nice. Sweet.
I'll get a picture of you and your ferocity. Alright.
Oh, error. We are now back from the range. Unfortunately, I could not get a good reading on the chronograph using unique powder. It's just too smoky. I don't care what this clean burning my ass. It is a smoky powder even today. But I did get a good reading on red dot and it was consistently right at 1,500 feet per second. Fantastic. It's still supersonic, but it is not supersonic enough to make me worry about using a non-gas checked lead cast bullet. Speaking of those lead cast bullets, I do have a concern about stability, even though the bullet ballistic coefficient and the speed and the powder, everything about that and twist rate tells me it should be stable out of the barrel. I'm still concerned about stability, and I'll tell you why. I'm using a Thompson Center compass rifle here, which utilizes 5R rifling. Not standard rifling, but 5R rifling. It uses a rounded rifling edge. It doesn't actually have a sharp corner on the rifling, which may be an issue with this lead cast bullet. The bullets I'm using for this round does not have a large bearing surface. It's very pointed and it has a small bearing surface for the weight and size and length of the bullet. So technically I should be using a more traditionally shaped lead cast bullet like this one. Much more rounded nose, and you have all that bearing surface to really grip onto that rifling. This may smear down the rifling and almost kind of surf over the rifling versus bite in and then turn. And that could be an issue with stability, but we will find out with more research, which means more reloading and more shooting. Okay, testing accuracy and just general fun. We got the not subsonic, but super low power 300 Win Mag here. I'm going to try it out with a suppressor later, but first we got to make sure it shoots out straight from the barrel. We don't want any kind of baffle strikes with this bad boy. I have no idea if this is sighted incorrectly. A little low. Both of them to the left. That one to the right. Last one of this magazine. All right. Nice. And all 4 of those rounds went straight through. There's no tumbling involved, so we're good to go for the suppressor. The suppressor I'm using is the Jack of all trades, master of none, the Subsonic hybrid. I like it because I'm also a Jack of all trades and master of none. Let's see how quiet this is. It's 1,500 feet per second. It is using a pistol powder. So let's find out. I have no idea. Boy, you really feel that weight on the end of that. All right, here we go. She's a little loud. It's much louder than 22 because it's still breaking the speed of sound. I'm going safe on that because that looked like it tumbled. Might have been a fluke, I don't know. So back on fire. Let's go ahead and just finish off this magazine. All right. Interesting. So now we know that the load, first developed by Ed Harris, not the actor, that it is a viable plinking round for, or plinking load for the 300 Win Mag. Now, is it super accurate? No. I find it way more accurate in 308 and the 30-06 rounds. If you have some spare bullets and powder on hand, why not make a few plinking loads for your 300 Win Mag? It's a good time at the range for everybody. Well, guys, that's from me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go subscribe. A lot more is on the way. If you have any comments, questions, or show what it is, leave that in the comment box for the video. I'll try to do as many as possible. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya. Beautiful.